Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine Show, a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakening, offering listeners practical tools and soul-stirring insights to reclaim their inner authority. Today we have Muslimah Tobias back for her Embodied Truth of Being series, and we're going to be talking about the frequency of authenticity. So, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and then we can go into our topic?
Hello, Nicole. Thank you again for having me here. Yeah, I'm excited about this. This is probably like the core of the whole embodied truth of being. So yes, I am Muslimah Tobias, certified holistic wellness and spiritual embodiment coach. I am known as the spiritual awakening catalyst. I am the CEO and founder of the Soulprint Collective, where we remember our roots of remembrance, particularly for neurodivergents who are awakening into their authentic self. And I work specifically around nervous system recalibration and identity reclamation. So this is like a lot of quantum healing, neuroscience work. And I have been dabbling, well, not dabbling, but holistic wellness, holistic nutrition, advocacy, and research for over 20 years now. And so that is the core of my work, the holistic framework in the way I
And a
do.
mama six.
And yes, and I'm a mom of six. Yeah.
All neurodivergent as well, which
Yes.
has been a beautiful conversation here on the show as well, because you have such a well-rounded, um, informed, if you will, way of being in this world. And so today we're talking about the frequency of authenticity. So why don't you go ahead and define that for us? Because some people might go, what's a frequency? What's authenticity? And now you have them together. So what does that actually mean?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to get kind of a little bit into some science. So the frequency of authenticity. Well, first of all, let's break down the frequency. When we look at our beings, we usually, everything is matter, but we also understand that at a microscopic or atom level, everything is energy, right? So when you look at the energy, like the atoms of things, everything is kind of vibrating. So that vibration is kind of like the frequency. And so when we talk about the frequency of authenticity, we're talking about what are you vibrating at? And usually that is in our heart field. And research and science have shown that our heart field, our hearts emits up to 5,000 times more electromagnetic field than our brain. So it extends from far from outside of us. And that's what we might call the vibe. We feel in a vibe or an aura. And so that is our authenticity. And usually when you are in a place of shame or you're in a place of fear or something like that, your body is more constricted. So that is very low, like a low frequency. So when you're operating at authenticity, that's basically like one of the highest frequency up there with love, joy, and everything like that. And so it's not something that you do, but it's who you are, and it's something that is felt. It's a felt sense. Yeah.
Hmm. And do we often maybe block that in some ways? How can we control it? Like, let's share a little bit more about how we can actually start to access this authentic vibrational frequency, if you will.
Yes. Safety. We have talked about that in our previous episode. So to access your authenticity first is having safety. We usually look at authenticity as just having this confidence. It's something that you have to do. You have to be more. I have to do this to be more confident. But it's actually just stripping away all of the things that is not that wasn't there, like the tension, the mask, and also it is what's the word I'm looking for? Is reacquainting with the parts of you that was like suppressed or repressed and all of that because we are a whole being, but sometimes there are parts of us that has been suppressed or repressed or we denied. And so a part of regaining that authenticity is reconnecting to those parts of you again, the whole part of who you are, and to release all of the masks and the tensions and the conditionings. And so that looks like building safety first in the body. In order for you to bloom into who you are, there has to be some type of safety. You have to feel safe because a lot of us will carry shame with us. So now when we talk about frequency again, now we're talking about like these low vibrational shame, fear. And so if you don't even feel safe in your body, you don't feel safe to be who you are. So the foundational level, the prerequisite to all healing and authenticity is safety. creating that safety within first.
Yeah. I always think about when we come into this world as a little baby, we
Yeah.
don't have those lower vibrational frequencies. They are either taught to us or we experience them in some sort of way, right? A baby, it learns fear
Yeah.
through neglect or learns fear through discipline and things like this. When we come into the world, we have an expectation that our needs are going to be met, and it's just
Yeah.
there, right? We don't come in fearful. We're like, where's our mama? Where's my food? And so on and so forth, right? But
Yeah.
as those conditionings have been bestowed upon us, then we start to mask. And I love that you do a lot of unmasking in your work
Mm,
and nervous system calibration, as well as identity reclamation, because
mm,
that is what we do. We are here to reclaim our sovereign selves, if you will,
yeah.
our authentic selves, so that we can begin to connect to a higher frequency and field and vibe. And the best way that I've learned to describe it to people who don't understand, and my daughter has asked me, like, what are you talking about, Mom? What frequency are you talking about? Right? She's
Yeah.
14. And I'm like, okay, honey, when somebody has just gotten in an argument, but you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, you didn't, but you walk into the room, you can feel that, right?
Yeah.
Or
That energy.
when somebody is like having the best time, you can feel that too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
The
yeah,
joy.
like
Yeah.
that's frequency. That's something that you can tap into, and there's different levels of it. And so then she gets really excited, right? Because she can understand that. But when we are our inauthentic selves, that begins to register in our body in a certain way. And so how can one notice when they're in their inauthentic self versus their authentic self? Because they may not know. They may not know
Yes.
they're masking.
Um, yes, before authentic self is when you're masking, that's more performance. And so, yeah, you're in a state of performance. And you can kind of know, well, I guess, well, like you said, not everyone doesn't know that they're masking. So you want to know like specific things that you can tell. Is it in alignment with who you are? Is it something that you picked up? Because like along the way, a lot of times we are picking up habits from some people. And so that's why safety is the first step is listening to your body. Do you feel, because you can feel if you're performing or if you're just being present. Authenticity is also being present, is a felt sense, just presence, because you can't think your way into authenticity. You can't strategize your way into truth. You just feel your way there. So it's something about like a felt sense. I was talking about the heart. The heart is the center of like the seat of our soul. This is where the electromagnetic field, the frequency, the vibration. So it's something that's just felt in the body. And so it's becoming reacquainted with yourself. So that's another thing, is being able to know who you are. And from that place, you will know whether or not, is this true to me or not? And you get to question that and have that curiosity about that. Is this true to me or not?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How do I feel when I'm in this place or when I'm in another place, when I'm with this person, when I'm another person? How am I when I'm by myself alone versus how am I when I'm outside? That gap between how you act when you're behind closed doors or with certain people versus how you act in public. That is the determining factor to detail like that gap between who you are actually being or how you're performing out in the world. Yeah.
That is such a great point. And sometimes too, I just think back to my early days when I was trying to figure out my authentic self, and I wouldn't even let myself sit down for 15 minutes, but I started asking myself, what do I really want in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
Because I kept overriding my authentic self. And I thought that that was normal, like pushing through. I always give the example, my first time of connecting with my authentic self, I was doing the dishes and I just said to myself, I want to sit down for 15 minutes. But then I overrode myself and I was like, no, you got to push through, right? And then I said, what do you really need in this moment? And I said, I need to sit down just for 15 minutes. And I did. And that was the first time that I chose my authentic self versus masking, right? Pushing through,
Yeah.
getting things done, all of that. I wouldn't have defined it as that at that time. I would have defined it as lazy or tired or, something along those lines of, maybe just reaching burnout or that kind of stuff. But really, in that moment, nobody else was around. Nobody
Yeah.
could see me sitting down for 15 minutes. Like there was literally nobody in the house. My daughter was at school, my husband was at work. It was just me. And so that was a perfect example of when I started to act from my true frequency, although it was very slight. It was
Yeah.
still one step, one choice, time and time and time again that I had to keep making to try to redefine for myself what was my true frequency
Yeah.
because I didn't know. I had been such a huge people pleaser and I didn't rock the boat. I didn't want to cause any drama or discomfort to anybody, so I always just said yes and pushed through.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, right? Do you find that you have a lot of clients like that as well?
Yes, a lot of things that I've heard you mention burnout and thinking pushing through. And is it burnout or is it your body has overridden itself so much that now it's like screaming at you? So it's a form of self-abandonment too, when you think about it. So yeah, when I say when we're talking about clients as far as it's a lot of pushing through and thinking. And when you look at the frequency, it's not about what is the frequency because it just is. It's not something that you do or you have to think about. You just be, and it's felt. Like I said, it's felt not with you, but around the people around you. They can sense that energy. If you're being real, it's like, oh, this person is being fake, or if this person is being real. I don't know if you mentioned it, but you can feel that and you can kind of sense that, and you can sense that within yourself too. And it's just getting to a place, like I said, a place of safety. I'm always bringing up safety because it's about a place of safety. Because when you're in a place of safety, your nervous system is relaxed. Now you get to feel different states as in when you are in survival mode, there's kind of like a break on your system, and you can't really. All you see is like what's in front of you. It's like a survival mode, and you don't know what is yours and what is not yours. So yeah.
You talked a little bit about, survival mode, coming back to safety. And I want to bring up like a real moment for a lot of people because most of us live with other people, whether it's roommates, children, parents, spouses, whoever it is. We are
Yeah.
beings that are around other people. We're social. And it could be coworkers as well. When we are in an environment with somebody else, and that person is perhaps not living in their authentic frequency. We can't change them, right? We can only work on ourselves.
Yeah.
But how do you typically deal with, or maybe you can draw upon an experience in the past where somebody is living from an inauthentic frequency, but you're trying to live in your authentic frequency? And how do you deal with that mismatch?
Oh, yes, boundaries, definitely. First is recognizing, be able to see that and to bring awareness to that, that there is some type of misalignment here. And if you want to stay integrity to who you are, your values, your authenticity, you can name that. And either there can be some type of repair with that relationship or that has to go. I had actually a friend where there was this misalignment in that it was like, she was operating from a place of performance. And it's like, I'm being this place of presence. And it's like, there's this friction here. Let's talk about it. But unfortunately, not everyone is ready to rise up to that accountability and responsibility. And yeah, it's sad because a lot of us, well, there's people out here in the world who just wants to have access to the surface of your being. But when you're coming from a place of depth, it's like, I'm not just you know, I'm not just the human being that you see. I'm still the soul. I'm still the spiritual part. And to have access requires a level of responsibility. And a lot of people don't want their responsibility because they don't have that within themselves. And so for in cases like that, it's about having boundaries, knowing what you stand for. and what you will allow, who you have access to. You get to choose that, having choice and autonomy over who you allow into your life.
Oh
And if
my
it's in
gosh.
alignment with you, yeah.
I've just had this huge revelation. This is why I love talking with so many beautiful people like you, because you give me access to words when I haven't been able to describe something before. And then I finally have the words and now I can put it into action. So I had a friend one time who was extremely deep. I mean, super deep, did a lot of her own personal work and had that depth. And we had a very deep relationship. However, there came this point where she wasn't willing to take radical responsibility for her actions and behaviors anymore. And there came this time when she had access to me. And I was like, that is such a great word because it was as if we had moved onto two different planes. She still was doing work, but not at the level and frequency that I was anymore. And there was this, don't want to say jealousy or enviousness, but those were her words. She was like, I've been doing this for 30 years and you've been only doing it for 3, and you're further along on your journey than I am, and this, that, and the other. And she was very upset by that. And I'm like, whoa, 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 hold on, wait a second. Like, there's no comparing. Like, we don't need to do this. And she couldn't get herself out of it. And
Oh,
so unfortunately, I did have to let that friendship go because I felt like that was the end of the season for our
yeah,
friendship. And and it reminded me of, yeah, you don't get access. Like when you said access, that word resonated for me. And this was years ago. So the fact
yeah,
that it penetrated me, just that one word penetrated me so deeply. That's exactly how I felt in the moment was like, you don't get to have access to me when you treat me this way and you say
yeah,
these words and you use these words. So I love that you said that because there is a ripple effect around us when we move from on an authentic place and frequency
yes,
versus an inauthentic place.
yes. Yes, there's this one thing I wanted to bring up too about identity, since we're talking about authenticity, which that is the identity. And a lot of times we look at our identity as our roles, like whether we are mother or like our job, we look at our identity as even our disabilities, our diseases, and there's so many things that we look at as our identity. And that is not our true self, right? That is just the roles that we play. This is just in this like this 3D playing field. When we also looking at authenticity, you look at the identity from your heart space. It becomes you now you're understanding that no matter what role you play, it's not anything about what you do. You don't have to do anything. It's who you are being. Like,
Hmm.
because you're operating from your heart place, what is your character,
Hmm.
your spirit? Like that is that is your true authenticity. Because a lot of times I feel like a lot of people get caught up in these roles, like, oh, I have to do this, I'm doing this, I have these certifications, or and that kind of what makes people not feel like, oh, I can't be authentic because I don't have this to do this. And it's like you don't have to have a certain degree or you don't have to be a certain thing to do it. You just get to be. And it's like whoever God created to be your creator, that just you being born is gets to define who you are, that you have purpose and you have intention from that alone.
Yeah, that is so, so true. And I love that because I think so many people are striving to be or do something that is not in alignment with
Yeah,
them. And as we register this in our body in a new way, we open up new doors to our truest self. Like
yeah,
I was talking with my husband the other day and I said, I really can't stand when people say the words, you aren't the woman I married, or you aren't the man I married. I can't stand that because I'm like, of course I'm not. I'm
yeah,
not, well, I was 26 when I got married, but 20 when I met him. I'm 46. I really hope I'm not that same
yeah.
person
20 years is a
anymore.
big difference. Yeah,
Right, right. And so as we go on this healing journey, if you will, we're going to change. And my 46-year-old person is not going to be the same as I hope I live till I'm 80 something, like
Yeah,
80, an 80-year-old person is going to be so different from a 40-year-old person. So it's
yeah,
just one of these conversations where when you really realize what frequency you're attuned to, you can change that if it's not in alignment, and you just need to become more aware of how you're living and who you're surrounding yourself with.
yeah. Like we have free will. We get to choose. You get to design your life. And I don't think a lot of people wrap their head around that. Like you get to be who you want to be. Who you don't have to allow other people to like their judgments to or their perception because everyone perceives you differently anyway. The way we're not here to be understood. We're here to be experienced, and each person will experience you differently. The way you experience me is different from the way one friend experienced me, the way another. So when you just be who you are, also authenticity is a filter. So it brings the people who are meant to be in your life, and it brings the people who are not. So you stand true into who you are, and then let it the authenticity, the frequency of authenticity is very polarizing and it's meant to be because it pushes the people that are not meant to be in your life and it brings the people who are into your life. When you don't allow yourself to be authentic and allow yourself to show up in who you are supposed to be, then you rip away that blessing and opportunity for you to bring your tribe in. Some people are like, I just want my tribe. Or your tribe can't find you if you're not being who you are. So yeah, that's another thing.
That's a perfect, perfect way to end this show because that is the embodiment of your show, which is the truth of being.
Yeah.
Right? Right? So this is so perfect. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And if anybody else has been as well, definitely go back and listen to episodes 1 through 3. They're very foundational for this topic as well. And Muslimah's in our community.sovereign-magazine.com. All her details are in the show notes, so you can find her anywhere. Definitely work with her if you're ready to have a catalytic awakening, if you
Yeah.
will. Your soul blueprint is waiting for you today. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.